Welcome back to Unauthorized Opinions, uopod.com. Please like, share, and subscribe. YouTube, Rumble, X, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, whatever. Still YouTube, I think. And iHeartRadio. I was just watching some different BBC channels, some different British channels. Welsh language, Scottish, Gaelic, I believe, Irish, Celtic, or Gaelic. I don't remember the differences. All I remember was that the Scottish version sounded the most pleasant, kind of like woodland elves. They were singing about the Bible. So if you're wondering which one of those three you should support, the Irish one was a little gypsy. The Welsh one was a little bit, shmish. But the Scottish one reminds you of Lord of the Rings and some elves singing enchanted songs in the forest. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about today. What we're talking about today is, of course, N-word lady, F the Jews kid, England's melting down temperature-wise. We've got a couple more things after that I don't remember. Transgenderism, of course. But I think right now, the dichotomy that we're in, the juxtaposition that we're in of the left and the right finding ways to come together. There isn't much of a protest class anymore. Sure, there's some Antifa coming out to events, but they don't seem to be getting the funding they're used to. Right now, it's the boomers going out, in favor of the illegal immigrants, against Tesla, even though that was a bit of a fad now that Elon's time in the federal government is coming to an end. That's a little bit played out now. Tariffs, they really wanted to talk about that. That's a little bit played out now. But I think people are coming closer together on the big issues like illegal immigration, their governments wasting their money, wanting to end wars, that sort of thing. But I think there are elements of both the left and the right that are kind of being exposed for being hypocritical. And what I mean by that is the most recent examples of people trying to fundraise off of stupid things, right? And I'll show you exactly who we're talking about. We're talking about N-word lady, appropriately named. We're talking about F the Jews guy, appropriately named. And we're talking about free speech. So if you don't know, there was a woman named Shiloh Hendricks. And that right there, if you grew up where I grew up, Oshawa, Canada, and you heard about a woman from the South End, let's say, named Shiloh, you'd have some preconceived notions. Maybe you would think that she frequented the coffee time, the coffee restaurant known as Crack Corner. This is all alleged. I don't know this woman. But maybe you would think she frequented the abandoned Kmart parking lot. You might think these things. I don't know anything about this woman. People are going to be upset with me for saying that. However, this is what the name Shiloh invokes to some. Not me. Not me. To people who are from Oshawa, not me. I wasn't even born there. I might have spent most of my life there, but I wasn't born there. You can't say I'm from there. I was not of birth there. So this lady's at a park, and in her own words, she said, a child stole her son's diaper bag, and this is what ensued here.
The child?
The fuck you talking
Did you
about?
call the child the N-word?
None of your fucking business.
It is my own business. You call him a N-word? Okay, why don't you have the balls to say it right now again?
Fuck you, nigger.
Okay.
Nigger.
Alright, that's what you say.
You don't go digging through people's shit, you dumb fuck.
Nobody dig into your shit.
A little fucking kid just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him a
Yeah.
The little child?
What if he acts like one, he's gonna...
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child 5-year-old an N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
That's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for that.
All right, we're going to stop it at hate speech because nobody cares about your hate speech stuff. Obviously an insane thing to do, right? People allege there's a little bit of give and take here, a little bit of leeway, but But not much to do there. Lady says things, calls child terrible name, calls father same thing. Regardless of who the father is, people say he's got a criminal background. I don't know. I was going to say which country he's from. I'm not sure. Regardless of all of that, things that you probably don't want to say. But in terms of free speech, I think everyone can agree, at least in the United States, you should be able to say whatever you want. So if you want to come up and call me, pale McFace, cracker guy, anything like that, I would probably laugh. But the thing is, it's not a crime to say it in the United States. Now, the argument comes up with consequences. Should there be consequences? From the government, no. From your employer, I think it depends on what type of job you have. If she's a fast food worker or, a garbage pickup person, should you be fired for that? No. A UFC fighter? No. Because where else do you want these people to go, even though Garbage Man's a very good job? That's the kind of thing people are arguing about. But what I'm arguing about today is, do we owe N-word lady anything? And that's what elements of the right wing who've become sort of this weird identitarian thing. I think the guy from Fresh and Fit podcast, Myron Gaines, pointed out, becoming tribalistic. This segment of the right wing that's becoming tribalistic. And the problem I see with that is they have been crying out against it for years. Some of these people that I know have been crying out against, people acting tribalistic and race-centric for almost a decade now. And then now they're fighting for the right to do it themselves. They've said, we've had enough. We've had enough of Cinco de Mayo celebrations. We've had enough of Auntie's Cookout, where they're serving delicious Southern foods. We want our own event where we are serving chocolate milk, quarter pounders, poutines if you're in Canada, and the like. That's what they're saying, that I don't want to get clipped out on this. That's what they're saying. They don't want to be the only people who can't have some weird racial integration with every person of that race all around the world. I don't get it. I think it's weird personally. I think it's weird for, Mexicans and Argentinians to think there's some sort of shared Latin pride. I would think it's weird for a black guy from Chicago to be like, I have so much in common with a guy from Rwanda or Madagascar. And I think it's weird to imply that I have anything to do with a Swedish guy who's super liberal or a Belgian guy who wants his country to become incredibly Islamic. I don't have anything to do with these people based on the color of my skin alone. It's a weird thing to want, and it sounds to me like a lot of these people have not grown up around people of a different race who think the exact same as them, as some people have done. Whether you believe in the immigration policy that resulted in that or not, I just think that's what happened. So certain people want you to donate to N-word lady. And it's very 2025. 2024 was all about getting past boundaries of things we could and could not say. And stand-up comedy and comedians like Tony Hinchcliffe and Shane Gillis had a lot to do with that. A lot to do with making it so that you can say almost anything you want, or pretty much anything you want. You could even credit Ye for some of that too, even if you think that he's gone way too far with it. But that's a lot what 2024 was about, taking back the ability of free speech. Now we're going to the part 2 in 2025 where it's, you need to donate to N-word lady or you're a race traitor. That's kind of where we're at. So she has her own thing on Give, Send, Go, which has raised $770,000, and she did not back off, okay? My name is Shiloh, and I've been put in a dire situation. I recently had a kid steal from my 18 months old diaper bag at a park. I called the kid out for what he was. Okay? I called the kid out for what he was. Do you think the kid has a concept of what this is? Or is he just, if you're saying this kid has a propensity to steal, or he's been taught that it's okay to do these things. Is that the child's fault? That's all I want to throw out there for what he was. Would you blame a 6-year-old kid or a 5-year-old white kid for having a mullet and a wife beater? Would you say, I'm calling this kid a piece of white trash because that's what he is? Or would that be a reflection upon the parents? So that's a weird thing to say, that she's just like, I just called him. She didn't back down at all. Another man who we recently found out had a history with law enforcement proceeded to record me and follow me to my car, skipping over the part where she said it to him several times as well. He then posted these videos online, caused my family and myself great turmoil. Social security number has been leaked, address, phone number has been given out. My child may not be able to go back to school. Even where I exercise has been exposed. I'm asking for help to assist in protecting my family. Now, the craziness of the responses does not justify the craziness of the initial, right? So if she can't go to her gym without somebody threatening her, that's a problem, right? That person's also crazy. The correct response is, ha. This is the correct, hey, it's N-word lady, ha. That's ridiculous. You don't have to go much further than that. I mean, what do you need to do? Do you need to threaten this woman? I don't know. You're not going to get me on her side just because there's crazy reaction. So she's raised $770,000. And there's a big push among these people I mentioned who are, I guess former right wingers. Now they see themselves as a bit of, I don't want to label them a bit of, tribalistic, I would say. And this is all they think about now. And this is all they talk about now for the most part. I'm not donating to N-word lady. Why? Because if you go down the street and you go up to a bunch of Leafs fans, or you go up to a bunch of Yankees fans, and you say, the Yankees are shit, they've always been shit, and I hate the New York Yankees, and you know what, the Yankees, they commit all these violations in the league, they don't pay their players properly, they treat their employees like shit, all this stuff. You go up to a group of Yankees fans, or whatever group you want, and then all of a sudden the Yankees supporters go online and be like, we hate this lady, she sucks, what a piece of crap she is. And then everybody's like, oh, this poor, like, obviously this is going to cause some backlash. When you call out any group of people, there's going to be backlash from that group of people. Now, do I think they should lose their job? Probably not. Do I think they should be harassed, beaten up, exposed? No, of course not. The correct response is laughter and maybe a little bit of pointing out in the street. I don't know. Nothing that accounts to a crime. But why does this affect you so much? And don't worry, we're going to go to the other side. Why does this affect you so much? Stupid crazy lady plus stupid people on the other side does not equal me give money. And that's what some people want is, you got to give her money. Trump never said this. You got to give her money. We used to like it when people called children N-words in the bar. This used to happen all the time, and nobody had a problem with it. I'm not giving her money. And if you think that giving her money is the solution to get this sort of thing to stop, it's not. It's to not give it any oxygen. Stop spreading this around. The people who have a huge problem with it to the extent where they want to ruin her life, those people are crazy too. So you're not going to get me to fight in the crazy fight. You see what I'm saying? I would recommend, just like a lot of people do for overseas wars, when both sides are not as becoming as you would like them to be, I would recommend that you don't have to take a side. If Iran and Iraq are at war, which I believe happened in the late 80s, you don't have to take a side. If the Black Hebrew Israelites and the KKK are in an identitarian battle, you don't necessarily have to take a side. I don't have to pay N-word lady. And we'll juxtapose this with F the Jew sign guy. Now, if you're not familiar with it, F the Jew sign guy, he was at a bar in Philadelphia, allegedly. This is all alleged, of course, Your Honor, which is owned by Barstool Sports. There's a bar in Philadelphia owned by Barstool Sports, and as such owned by Dave Portnoy, a Jewish man who owns Barstool Sports. Now, this bar does what many bars do, And when you order a $200 or $400 service of bottles, which is when you order an entire bottle of alcohol instead of buying drinks, the reason why it's like $200 or $300 is because that's how much they would make off of selling those drinks individually. So you'll get a small discount. You know, only rich people do this, or people who are insane, because why would you spend this much money? So when they bring out these bottles, they bring sparklers, they bring women, and now the thing to do these days is bring a sign. So what happened at this restaurant owned by this Jewish guy, as we pull up the video here, someone decided, and for all intents and purposes, it is alleged to be this guy named Mo Khan. Someone decided that this was a good idea at a Jewish guy's restaurant. I'm going to get copyright struck for the song there. I'll sing it to you myself sometimes, saying a. So this is obviously a lot of people involved in this did not want their face being shown. You see all the women there hiding their face, because this isn't a good. This isn't something you want to be known for, right? So what ended up happening is this sign goes out, and of course, guy who owns the store, who is Jewish, says, "Hey, I don't like this," and his name was Dave Portnoy, and he said, "I don't like these people." He fired the two girls who were waitresses that worked there, and of course, why wouldn't you, right? Your boss is Jewish, and you bring out this sign. So he said, Dave Portnoy said that one of the girls just went along with it because she didn't want to say no, because the other girl was being like, yes, let's make this a political thing. I believe in this too, allegedly. And so he fires both of those girls, and then he finds out who paid for it, I think, allegedly. And it turns out to be this guy. And Portnoy says, hey, instead of me exposing you, why don't I just send you to Auschwitz? Not literally, of course. Well, actually literally, but not as a participant, but as a history lesson, so that you have some more respect, I guess. That's a very nice trip to go on. You get to go to Poland. You get to see a lot of historical stuff. No matter how you feel about this situation, you're getting a free trip, and it will be obviously your apology to him. Portnoy said that in his initial conversation Sunday, the customer took 100% responsibility for his actions with his friend and agreed to take a learning trip to Auschwitz in Poland. But on Monday, Portnoy posted that the customer did a 180 and told him he had nothing to do with the anti-Semitic behavior and that he was just being a citizen journalist by sharing the video of what happened. His trip to Poland has been revoked, Portnoy said. Whatever ramifications come his way, he 100% earned. And so this guy named Adnan Khan, or maybe it was Mo Khan he's going by in the Give, Send, Go there, is rebuking this, and let's see what he had to say.
Past weekend, I was in an establishment in Philadelphia where an incident occurred, and Dave Portnoy sensationalized it to his 9.2 million followers on Instagram and X, essentially turning it into a global news story. Although I had nothing to do with the sign coming out, nor do I know who did it, I know that the sign was provocative because it reminded people a lot of the unjust things that Israel is doing around the world, thus leading me to report on it. Dave Portnoy and his friends can...
So the unjust thing should have been the unjust things, which the captions gracefully corrected for him. But he's saying he has nothing to do with it after saying, allegedly, that he had something to do with it. My personal opinion is when you're a Muslim guy and it becomes heard by other Muslims that you're willing to go to Auschwitz and say you're sorry, it is of my opinion that that is not becoming in the Muslim world. You can criticize me if you want. I've known many Muslim guys in my time, and they would never think about apologizing for something about this. That's just, whether you agree with that or not. It sounds to me like allegedly he got a PR assessment, or he got some let's say, friendly commentary from his peers, and then he turned his story around. That's my opinion. I don't know for sure what happened, but Mo Khan and or Adnan Khan, who didn't mention what the sign was in that instance, is now having a give, send, go. His was not nearly as successful, but he still did raise $17,000. Help me defend against Dave Portnoy attacks. Over the weekend, I was present at an establishment where an incident occurred that Dave Portnoy sensationalized. Who is, this is exactly what he said. However, it was clearly provocative because it reminds us of the acts of injustice Israel, not capitalized, is perpetuating around the world, so I reported on it. Dave Portnoy and his friends can choose to be triggered by the sentiments of that sign, and he has the right to kick me out of his bar forever, but they have no right to destroy my life over free speech and what is ultimately just an edgy joke. So did you have anything to do with it or not, is what I'm... You're defending the joke, and that's fine, but why would you defend something that you have nothing to do with? If you're being attacked for it, just say I had nothing to do with it. Frankly, they're more concerned about destroying my life than they are with stopping a genocide, blah, blah, blah. Well, their support kills thousands of people every day, of course, using the numbers. I'm taking back what I said about consulting with a PR person. I don't think any professionals were involved in the writing of this at all, due to the spelling and grammar and whatnot. Dave Portnoy and the greater Jewish community are making themselves out to be some kind of victims because of hurt feelings from 3 words on a bar sign. But I am the real victim. While Dave Portnoy lies about me and viciously attacks me, trying to force me to take a trip abroad to visit death camps as a condition of not destroying my life and the lives of family members, here's how my real life has been affected, not just my feelings. Docs fires from jobs, death threats, suspended from university, threats of getting me expelled permanently, spam calls, pictures sent to me of children dying, news articles harassing my parents. Roommates had to evacuate because of potential unwanted visitors. Remember, I'm a 21-year-old college kid. I'm not a public figure. Dave is twice my age and a well-connected multimillionaire. Built a reputation. We love America. I love free speech. Founders of council culture, though, so on and so forth. $17,000. Now, I think at this point, at home, you're probably drawing some parallels. People are doxing me. They're threatening me to get me kicked out of school. People are writing bad articles about me. I'm getting lots of bad press. If you are allegedly F the Jews sign guy, and somebody and you're in somebody's restaurant, they are not going to like it. I don't know why I have to tell people this. If you do, you know the old saying, if you do the crime, you better do the crime and you'll have to be okay with doing the time. Whatever that might be. If somebody comes into your house and says, I hate you, Andrew. All Andrews are stupid. Your whole family is stupid. I hate your entire bloodline. You're a piece of crap. And you say, get out. And then I go on MySpace and I say, you know what? I hate this guy. He came into my house and said, I'm a piece of shit. And he said, F the Chapadoses. F your family. Is that, no matter what my stature is in life, is that wrong? Am I not allowed? So this guy can come into a bar owned by a Jewish guy, allegedly, and get this sign made, allegedly, and there could be no retaliation from that. Do I think he's taking it a bit far? I don't know. I don't know if I could say I would do any different. If somebody comes into my house and does all this stuff, or into my bar and specifically calls me out and specifically calls out the French lineage, I don't think I would be as upset, but I would definitely say, get out your band and go online. And because this was posted on the bar's official, I believe, Instagram page, and now they have to answer for that, being like, why would you put out a thing that says you hate America or something? Like, I'm just trying to give other examples, right? Is he not entitled to say, I don't like this guy and I'm going to use my connections to punish this guy, as he has come in to my establishment to essentially punish me for nothing? You're punishing my business by putting this out there. Ultimately, this falls a lot on the employees for participating in this, and I think those are the people that deserve to be most punished. The employee that says, yes, this is a good idea, let's go and put that out there. I think that person deserves ultimately to be punished the most, and that person was fired. So this guy, who comes out and does this. I mean, he could have come out and said, hey, bring me a sign that says, fuck Zelensky or something like that. The employees don't have to bring it out. They can be like, that's weird, but no, we can't have anything controversial or cursing on our signs. But they did this anyways. But I don't think that this guy did anything to me that doesn't signal that this might have been a plan either before or after. And let me explain that. If he did not plan to make a publicity stunt out of this, allegedly, if he even did it, you guys, I don't know. Conjecture, hearsay. If that wasn't part of a plan, this part is definitely part of a plan. And when people get in your ear and be like, you can't just give in like this, he's trying to ruin your life, blah, 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 and then to go and ask for money for it. There's another post of his that says support due process. I don't know if that's in here, but I saw another portion of it. We're accidentally trying to upload a video here. No, it doesn't say it in this one, but there is another post that says support due process, which is the phrase of the day with the Democrats. He is now making PR moves. And the difference between him and N-word lady is the N-word lady was actually talking a lot more honestly. His whole thing about what he's actually doing is drawing attention away from the war, and thousands are dying in each day, and 3 words on a sign, I'm the real victim. Like, he's talking with this victim speak to a further degree than N-word lady is. And now people on the left wing are like, you got to donate to this guy because Dave Portnoy is trying to destroy his life and it's not fair. And he is using, the Jewish community to do all this stuff. And this is what the complaints are on the other side. So we've come to a point where there's literally white identitarianism and then like Palestinian Muslim identitarianism on the left versus the right, and they are commanding people who are, and I'm pretty conservative. I'm so conservative that I'm outside. I'm not even on screen here. But they're reaching from up here out in left field and right field, and they're demanding from first and third base that you give money to N-word lady and F the Jews sign guy. That's what they're saying. Or you don't support free speech. That's the claim here. And I'm saying it's all stupid. I'm saying I don't have to support N-word lady. I don't have to give money to this. I can disagree with what's being done to her. I can say that people shouldn't harass her at the gym. And I can say F the Jew sign guy shouldn't be harassed or have his family threatened or anything, just the same. But I don't have to support them, because then I have to support people who say If I have to support people who say the dumbest things, then don't I have to support the person who goes and flips off a bunch of Yankees fans and gets punched out for it or something? Don't I have to say how we must stand up for Bobby Del Guardia in New York, who's a Mets or Red Sox fan, not a Yankees fan, and he went and flipped off a bunch of Yankees fans and got beaten up, and now they're ruining his life? Don't I have to support the less dumb things? Because these are the two extremes you go out to. I guess you could have said, one of them could have said kill Whitey on one, although people wouldn't care much about that. And it could have been reversed. It could have been N-word guy sign and kill the Jews threat in real life. I don't know. I think for some reason, if the roles were reversed, it wouldn't be as serious. For some reason, N-word lady saying it in person doesn't seem as harmful as the sign. And F the Jews sign doesn't seem as harmful as the guy saying it in real life, though they're coming after me now. ADL, ACLU, NAACP, all the groups are coming after me now. But I don't want to support either of them, and I would suggest that when these sort of things come up, that you don't have to support either side. And I want to push it to this girl that was on Piers Morgan. And I only saw this because I've been seeing a lot of Bryson Gray stuff, friend of the show Bryson Gray. I've been seeing a lot of his reactions to this stuff, and the more you look at something, the more it gets pushed to you. Bryson shared a video from this girl whose name I'm not familiar with on Piers Morgan, and she didn't back down either. And I would suggest to anyone who watches this show that you don't have to condemn, you don't have to disavow from the heavens, you don't have to say, how dare you, or be offended. You can laugh at the stupidity. But I would recommend not going down this road.
The N word out of interest?
Yes.
You would?
I do quite frequently.
You use the N word quite frequently. Well, why? Other than the fact you're a despicable racist. Are you?
Some would say I am. I guess according to the ADL, I'm a white supremacist. I'm a neo-Nazi.
Yeah, well, if you use the N word repeatedly, you are a racist then, are you? Are you?
Sure, I'll embrace that. If that means forwarding, helping white people achieve freedom of speech, real freedom of speech, which, by the way, Shiloh Hendricks is being attacked on all fronts. They're trying to bring legal charges against her. They're trying to get her children taken away. So you were saying, Carmelo Anthony, it doesn't matter. That's a different.
Sorry, but just to be
thing.
clear, you just said to me you use the N word regularly. In what context? Do you use it with black people?
Yes, if it's appropriate.
When would it be appropriate to use the N word? When would it be appropriate?
Anytime I feel like it.
So you're an unashamed racist.
Correct.
Well, do you understand that makes you a despicable human being?
I guess so. I don't really care.
If it applies anytime I want to, even if she's playing this role of like, I am whatever you say I am, hashtag Eminem, it's not actually that brave or consistent. She's used the term full free speech. I don't know. Did she say unlimited? She said full free speech. And this is a very leftist trope to say that free speech has its consequences. But what are you asking for here? And I don't agree with this person's got to have their child taken away. They should be attacked. Of course, I don't agree with that. But when she says full free speech and this whole thing, I'll say it because if it fits, and I say it all the time. First of all, who says all these things all the time? I mean, all the time of any real word as a joke. All the time. But to ask for full free speech is literally saying nobody's allowed to have a problem with it. You can never have a problem with something that I say. I agree that the government shouldn't be able to charge you for it. I believe that they shouldn't be able to take your children away. I agree that people shouldn't attack you. I agree that they shouldn't dox you. I think they should laugh because it's just words. But to say that I'm fighting for free speech, for people to have 100% free speech all the time, and we're just talking about like Piers Morgan's reaction, and they didn't show the other guy, I think is Dr. Hill, Bishop Lamont Hill. I could be getting that wrong. I've heard that name recently. I think that's him. They didn't show the part where he gets super offended when Piers says, why don't you just go ahead and say the N-word live on the air? And he's like, no. That, again, represents both sides. You've got a lady who thinks you shouldn't have any consequences whatsoever for what you say. And she's just like, why would you dislike me if I go around saying this all the time? Why would anyone dislike me? You have to like me. And then you've got the guy on the other side that says, how dare you say that? It's the most offensive thing in the world. And I think people are standing here and seeing crazy person A and crazy person B in both situations. Nobody wants to be N-word lady. Nobody wants to be F the Jews guy. Nobody wants to be guy who thinks that you should be shut down and deplatformed because you offended him, and nobody wants to be girl who's just like, yeah, if it fits, I say it all the time at black people all the time whenever I want, and I don't care. Like, you don't have to care, but to go out and say like, I'm at a Yu-Gi-Oh convention, you guys, and I said Pokemon cards are better. How dare, if you have a problem with that, I don't have free speech. That's just stupid. And I would just recommend not fall if you see these people and you're like, that person seems kind of stupid and overworked up about this topic, I would suggest you don't have to take their side and give the money. That's just me. You don't have to be any word guy or lady. You don't have to be overreaction guy. You don't have to be N-word lady and guy. You don't have to be sign guy. You don't have to be any of these people. You can just be normal guy or girl who talks and makes jokes whenever they feel like it, whether it's an anti-white joke or an anti-black or Jewish joke or an anti-Australian joke, which I've known to send to the Australian punter that we had on the show. I accused him of minoring in wallabies the other day. as in a university degree minoring in wallabies. What that means, I don't know, but if he has a problem with that, I wouldn't say he's hindering my free speech. Maybe I would as a joke. And that's where we are now as a society. As a society. Let's move on over to the UK. The United Kingdom, we talk about this a lot in my circle of friends, even with friend of the show, Lewis Brackpool. As bad as Canada gets, and it gets bad, the UK somehow manages to stay a step above it, ahead of it. Maybe not as much recently on immigration, but like we have hate speech laws. We don't really pursue them. England, you can't call somebody fat. Both countries have bad immigration laws. In England, they tell you that, East Africans actually are the ones who built the country. Sort of thing, little things like that, where you're just like, Canada sucks, but England is a little bit further ahead on that. Case in point today. UK households told to stay indoor for 4 hours on Sunday as temperatures soar. Not a heat warning as you would get in North America. Not a, it's really hot outside. Make sure you're hydrated. There's a heat wave. People die during heat waves. In the UK, they're saying, don't go outside for 4 hours. Brits are bracing, and I'm hiding this for a reason. Brits are bracing for a scorching Sunday with temperatures set to soar, prompting the Met Office to suggest staying indoors during peak heat hours. A lot of people are saying this is what climate lockdowns are going to look like. So you must be sitting at home. You must be thinking 110 degrees, which it hits in Arizona. In Canada, 40 degrees. It probably hits 35 degrees once or twice a year here. Definitely hits 30 a bunch of times. I melt down after about 24 degrees is when I start to melt down. You must be thinking they're going 115 degrees. The Mr. Burns is trying to plot to block out the sun. They're sending up cloud seeding to make it rain. They're putting gold in the sky to reflect the sun rays. That's how hot it's got to be to make them stay inside. In England, they're saying don't go outside because it might hit 26 today. That's 77 degrees Fahrenheit. 77 degrees Fahrenheit is what it is at 3 a.m. in California. They're saying don't go outside today between 11 and 3 p.m. because it's 77 degrees or might hit 26 degrees Celsius. The upcoming week's scorcher is expected to hit its peak on Sunday before the mercury begins to dip from Monday. Health and weather boffins. What? Can we just speak regular English here? I know I was watching the Celtic and the Welsh channel earlier, but we can't understand you guys. And we choose not to, actually. The most intense UV rays are between 11 and 3, which could lead to heat exhaustion or other heat-related maladies, which is sicknesses. Copying French words there. To beat the heat, experts recommend keeping windows shut throughout the day and flinging them open after dusk to let the cooler night air. They're basically telling you you're a retard. That's what they're doing here. In England, they think you're retarded. They think you don't know door close equals air out. They think you're retarded. They think you need to be told window closed means keep warm air out. Window open, air in. Window closed, air out. Turn on air conditioning. Heat hot. It's 77 degrees Fahrenheit out here, and they're warning people not to go outside. That is the government telling you you're a moron. They recently said that women can't be men and men can't be women. A transgender woman's not actually a woman. They recently said this in the UK, and maybe people thought, hey, there's some common sense coming back to the UK Parliament. And then a week later, they're just like, hey, idiot, heat be hot, stay inside. Wait a minute, it's only 25 degrees outside. That's not that hot, is it? Stay inside, love. It's gonna get you. If you don't go, if you go outside, you're gonna melt down. It's gonna be bad. You're all gonna die. That's really hurting my throat. But England, just when you think that the window is opening to freedom, they go ahead and say, no, you're stupid. Stay inside. Hot air bad, cold air good. This is where we're at here in England, it seems. We've got another article from the Express. urging you to stay inside. Households in England urge not to go outside. We've escalated from recommended to urged. If you go outside, right? If you're thinking about going outside, we're increasing it. If you're thinking about going outside from about 11 to 3 p.m., you're not only risking your health, you're risking the health of others. We go back and forth between pronouncing the H. Here's an Indian guy in the sun. Residents in England, parts of England, may be well advised to stay indoors between 11 and 3. I like how the hours 11 and 3 are the new, are what becomes like the thing that gets echoed across the country. Yes, I guess that's what they likely put out in their press release or their notice or whatever. But that has it rings the bell of 6 feet apart, doesn't it? It rings true of 6 feet apart, 2 weeks to stop the spread, that sort of thing. Because immediate reactions out of England were climate lockdowns. Soaring temperatures are likely to blast parts of the country. If you're just off the top of your head, you're wondering, 25 degrees Celsius would be like a cooler July or August day in most places in the world. Unless you're like way in the north or the south and it's really cold. Not even the south in most places. That would have to be like the South Pole. But if you're in Australia in the summer, you're hoping for 25. If you're in India, it hasn't been 25 since like the Ice Age. That's why things are sweaty and smelly there. It's over 30 all the time. If you're telling me that people are going to die in 25 degrees, you can't even survive in Canada. Canada is one of the colder countries in the world. It's hitting 25 probably today in May. And they're telling you people are going to die. 2 weeks to stop the spread. The latest forecast suggests Sunday will probably be the hottest day of the next week as temperature levels begin to drop a little from Monday. According to health and weather experts, the UV rays are the strongest between 11 and 3. The experts, you gotta trust the experts. And other heat-related illnesses during spells of hot weather. Here's a man wiping his face. Other tips for coping with sweltering temperatures: keeping windows closed during the day and opening them at night. The NHS advises if you go outside, stay in the shade, especially between 11. This is the South Park where they ring the triangle for retard alert. A hat and light clothes, and avoid exercise or activity that makes you hotter. Electric fans can help with the temperature. This is so reminiscent of Stop the Spread. The experts are saying, and it's the dumbest advice, the experts are saying you can close the windows to keep the heat out. Stay in the shade. Wear lighter clothes. These are things you tell an 8-year-old. Wash your hands before dinner. Brush your teeth every day. Shower sometimes with soap. To avoid becoming a smelly dirtbag vagrant on the streets, don't forget to brush your teeth every once in a while and perhaps bathe, even with soap. If you wish to not contract communicable diseases, stay away from people that are sweating, coughing, and look pale. If a prostitute comes up with you with noticeable sores on her face, do not engage. This is what it sounds like, England. I don't know how you guys are allowing this, but I guess we could have said the same thing for COVID long ago. We want to get to transgender space travel. We thought we were over that with like the admiral from the last administration, the man in the wig from the last administration, but I guess we're not. And I want to get to a couple things here before we let's mention that Liev Schreiber's 16-year-old is now a girl. Let's just mention that. Just want to mention that. We might get to that another point. But we've got a couple great transgender things here. A space colonel reveals how much money the U.S. has spent in the military on transgender troops. It is mind-blowing, the caption says.
Been in for 20 years. And a lot of the time they talk about, oh, it's just
So you're a guy.
too expensive to take care of our trans troops. It's just the medical care is so expensive. How much do you think the military has invested in your 20-year career?
Well, in me in particular, they've given me multiple degrees, tons of classes, and the ability to design and develop our nation's most advanced technology.
So they're just throwing that away.
Is that Key and Peele's Jordan Peele next to her? Like, this looks like a sketch.
And there are decades invested in me and millions of dollars in me and thousands of other transgender service members. I mean, when you add it up, we're talking probably $1 billion invested into us or more that would be out the door. And we don't develop commanders and colonels in a day.
Right.
It takes time to build those leaders who are capable of training the next generation and making sure we have this unbroken line of service members ready to fight tonight and defend this nation's interests.
Colonel.
Ready to fight tonight and create more trans troops. Well, first of all, you can't listen to a person who believes they're the other gender because there goes the credibility. But this guy's voice, he's literally putting on, this is the voice he's putting on. I'm going to put on a wig. This is me. This is a girl. But obviously this segment is meant to say this is how much money we put into people like myself, and it would be foolish to throw that investment away. But the spin on it is, the alternative point of view is, look at how much money we're spending on transgender people. Now, the idea that you should be able to get into the military and have your sex changed is insane. And it's not, and I'm not saying that for the reasons you think it is. The reason I'm saying that it's insane is because the bar for getting medical care that is elective in the military is so high that it takes years and years and years. Now, let me tell you a story about a guy I knew in the Army. He was in it for, I believe, 3 years longer than me when I knew him. So at this point, he was in it for about 5 or 6 years. He had a jaw injury from when he was younger. I don't know if it was when he was in the military or what. I don't remember. But he had a broken jaw at one point, and you could see that his jaw wasn't right. Like, you could see that it wasn't, like, in place sort of thing. And he said he was suffering from jaw pain every day, and it affected his performance all the time because it's annoying and painful. Now, are they necessarily responsible for that, the military? If it happened during his time in the military and activities regarding the military, then yes, they are. If it happened beforehand, they probably wouldn't have let him in. So that's why as I'm remembering this, I'm pretty sure it happened while he was in the military. It took him 6 years to get approved for corrective surgery. 6 years. Now, if you've got a person who's got gender dysphoria in the military and they're just handing out transgender surgeries, therapy, hormones, checkups, all this stuff, do you understand how much that costs? And this person calculated millions of dollars for one person. And this isn't just for the colonel training. They obviously wanted a transgender person to be a colonel or a high-ranking person because they wanted the tokenization of it. But if they're willing to spend millions of dollars on this one person, this is legitimately how much it costs to have a transgender person in there. You have to get the therapy so they don't snap. Sorry. Commit suicide. Sorry. Real. They need hormone replacements constantly. They might need surgeries. They might need top or bottom. They might need penis cutting off or boob cutting off surgeries. They might need orifice opening surgeries. They might need breast implants to make them feel like a woman. Man, feel like a woman. These are the types of things they need. Definitely ongoing surgeries or therapies. Definitely hormone treatments. Forever, because you're not that gender. That's tons and tons of money. And that's what the military bases elective medical care on. Unless they can find some sort of training reasoning for it. Maybe they really wanted to train a plastic surgeon in sex change surgeries for when, I don't know, somebody has a facial injury or something. I don't know. But what I do know is if you have a person who's transgender in the military, it's going to cost a lot of money. Not to mention the fact that they don't let people with asthma in. They don't let people with some sort of psychosis in. You have this is not something you want to have to worry about. The bathroomness of it all. The change roomness of it all. the pronouns of it all. This is not something you want to worry about in the military. So it is correct. It is a correct thing to do to keep people who are transgender or believe that they are of a different gender out of the military. It's going to cost way too much money, way too much confusing, and you don't want a person who's not sound of mind to be in the military. And this brings us to our last video of the day. Salt Lake City Mayor, and this is from friend of the show, Chrissy Clark. Salt Lake City Mayor has proposed that they're going to bring the trans flag as their new city's official flag.
City proposed a bill adopting 3 new flags as official city flags after Utah passed a state law banning political and non-official flags from government buildings. So no more rainbow flag, no more Gadsden flags, just the American flag. But Salt Lake City didn't like that rule. So the council voted whether to make the Pride flag, the trans flag, and the Juneteenth flag official city flags. And it passed. These are now the official city flags. People will seriously stop at nothing to push an agenda.
Bad freeze frame for her at the end. Unfortunate freeze frame for her at the end. Utah passed a law banning political flags from flying in the government building. Only official flags allowed. So what did Salt Lake City do? They just made a pride flag, trans flag, and the Juneteenth flag official city flags. So what we're saying here is, instead of just saying, okay, it's only fair that we only fly the state flag and the U.S. flag. Maybe they have a municipal flag. I don't know. Maybe the Utah Jazz basketball team flag. They're going to say, we're going to change the definition of official, or we're going to use the definition of official to also include our official gay flags. So that is the pride flag, which is your classic rainbows. The Juneteenth flag, which I don't know, did she show that?
The mayor of Salt Lake City proposed a bill adopting 3 new flags as official city flags after Utah passed a state law banning political and non-official flags from government buildings. So no more rainbow flag.
So that's the rainbow flag.
No more Gadsden flags, just the American flag. But Salt Lake City didn't like that rule. So the council voted whether to make the Pride flag, the trans flag, and the Juneteenth flag official city flags. And it passed. These are now the official
Is that the Juneteenth flag? I don't know.
city flag.
That's a hell of a flag there.
People will see.
What's the Juneteenth flag? Does anybody know what that flag is? While we're waiting here, tell me in the comments what flag you would like to see as an official city flag. What could be the dumbest thing that you think could be flown in the flown in the office of your municipality? The Juneteenth flag. What does it mean, you might say? We're going to find out. The Juneteenth flag is full of symbols. Here's what they are and what they mean. From CNN. Stolen by The Advocate. I don't know if it's stolen. Bursting star in the middle is the Juneteenth flag, a symbolic representation of the end of slavery. The flag is the brainchild of activist Ben Haith. So it's a flag from 1997. That's so historical. Revised 3 years later into the version we know today. This doesn't give you much information. The star, the white star in the center of the flag, has a dual meaning. How creative. Surely one wasn't developed after the other. Texas, the Lone Star State it represents. It was on the Galveston in 1865 where Union soldiers informed the country's last remaining enslaved people that the Emancipation Proclamation was issued. But the star also goes beyond Texas, representing the freedom of African Americans in all 50 states. Sure it does. The bursting outline around the star is inspired by nova, a term that astronomers use to mean a new star. The arc, the curve that extends across the width of the flag, represents a new horizon. The opportunities promised for black, in capitals, Americans. The colors, red, white, and blue, for the American flag, reminder that slaves and their descendants were in our America. Well, I'm okay with that, but I'm not okay with the flag in general. And that appears to be it. So a stupid flag we made up in 1997, then added different meanings in the year 2000, is how we got this. And now Utah's Salt Lake City, which I thought was supposed to be the Mormon stronghold, but isn't every big city pretty much liberal? You got to pack into the buildings. You got to abide by the no cars. It's really, a big city's liberal through and through. let's get the pride flag up there. Let's just forget about the American flag altogether, or the Canadian flag. I expect this in Canada. I expect that the trans flag with the circle for the native people is going to become the flag sooner rather than later. Because why? We're on stolen land, everybody. I wouldn't lie to you, except for maybe this month. Except for maybe this month, we're turning into Daffy Duck here. UOPod.com. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check out our social media. We're on all the platforms. We love you. And don't be a sign guy or an N-word lady.